Hi, I'm Sandi Genovese and welcome to the Scrapbook Showgram. You know, I created a custom accordion scrapbook in order to feature a special bond between a grandfather and his first grandson. If you look, you can see here is that special scrapbook, and I've rubber stamped and then used some pattern paper and created some pattern paper that we're going to see how that happens. If I untie the bow, which is just holding the little book shut, you'll see inside it's just a fun little scrapbook. There's actually 10 of these polka dot pages. Here you can see James, and then when I turn it, here is Bruce and James. Very simple embellishments, partly because the patterned paper has enough embellishment, I think, on its own. I've only begun putting the photos inside, but as I mentioned, there are 10 photos, or 10 pages that are all waiting to be photoed up. And this started out as simply an accordion that I then glued the pages closed to put them into an actual book form, and we're going to see how to do that. We're going to start first with the accordion itself. What I did is I went to Paper Source and I bought large sheets of paper. This paper started out as 26.5 inches long, and it was, oh gosh, it was more than double this width. What I did was I cut a 7-inch strip. So the book is 7 inches tall and it's about 26.5 inches long. I wanted each page to be 5 1/4. That gave me the best yield for the length of the paper. So every 5 1/4 inches I did a score and then accordion folded it, and I ended up with just this little lip that's left over. I've left it on there because it's the tab that I'm going to use in order to attach another strip in order to make this longer. Now if you have 12-inch scrapbook paper, what you would do is just have more tabs. Because this is 5 1/4 and the next page is 5 1/4, you'd have a little tab here where you could add the next couple of pages, and you could keep adding pages in order to add as many pages as you want into your book. I'm going to take one more long strip, but the difference is with this long strip, I'll accordion it out, you'll be able to see that I didn't leave the tab on the end, because this time I'm going to just tuck it under. So what I'm going to do is place my adhesive onto this little tab itself. So I'm going to just put adhesive right on the tabbed edge, and then I'm going to come back with the book pages and I'm going to line this up so that when let's see, I need to make sure that I'm doing this with the colored sides together. Okay, so now I'm going to place the colored side right against the polka dots, tucking it right into the fold, and when it's in place, I'm going to go ahead and press down, and I'll go ahead, fold it over, and really push it right into that fold mark, and then push it down so that I end up, and I can see that I've accordion folded backwards. So I'm going to just reverse my folds so that I still end up with my 10 pages that are ready. You can see now what I've done is it just created a longer pages. And as I said, you can do this yourself, as many, repeat it as many times as you need to get as many pages as you want. Once you have the inside accordion ready to go, then let's look at the cover. What I did is I cut the cover so they're just slightly larger. You need a front and a back cover. I wanted them thick, so I took paper, and the dimensions of this, it's just slightly larger. So this is 7 1/8, and the length here is 10 3/4 because I'm going to fold it in half. I want that double thickness just because I want the sturdiness for my covers. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put adhesive inside and close this up. You would put more adhesive than that, but in the interest of time, that's enough to hold it shut. Oops, before I actually close it in there, I do want to attach the ribbon. So I'm glad I didn't stick that all the way down. I'm going to I started with about a foot long length of ribbon. You need 2 of them. So I'm going to place this inside at just about the halfway point, and I'll take a piece of tape and tape it into position so it's really held nice and sturdy. And then I'm going to go ahead and now I'll put a little more adhesive over that. And now I'm going to close this up, and this will give me what could be either the front or the back cover. Now, once you've done this, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. Here is what will be the back cover. I've already placed the tape to hold the ribbon on there, but I'm going to close this up so it's ready to go when it's time to actually put the two covers together. Now, to decorate the front cover, I started simply, I wanted to pull the pattern paper that was on the inside, I wanted to pull it onto the cover. So I'm going to take and just put adhesive along this patterned paper, and the dimension of this, it's not so critical. It's what's pleasing to the eye. Mine happens to be just about 2.5 inches wide is the dimensions of this, and of course it's the length. You can see that I haven't cut it very well. It's sticking over a little, so I'm going to have to take my scissors and I'll turn this over and just remove the excess, whatever is poking out over the edge, because my cover is just, remember, it's just a little bit, since my pages are 5 1/4, this is just a fraction larger than that. The next thing I did was I added a contrasting color as a little band, and this is just a 1/2 inch wide band. So I'll put adhesive on the back, and I'm going to tuck it right against that polka dot band. And once again, I'll have to turn it over so that I can remove any of the excess of that. And at this point, before I add the additional embellishments here, if I bring my book back, you'll see that instead of pattern paper on the bottom, I created pattern paper just by using a watermark ink pad and some stamps from my HSN collection. So here is what the stamps, you know, there's several sheets of these, and I'll take, this is what I'm going to place the stamp onto. So I'll just take, I used a couple different stamps. I'll go ahead, it's going to stick with, I guess it's like static electricity that just holds it on there. And then I'm going to ink it up, and I'll start creating a pattern. You can see, you get a nice design. You can ink it many more times in between. You want it nice and juicy. You can move it, you know, to different, so you're going to the left one from the left side, from the right side. I can move it up and down, and I'll bring back and show you, I actually used a couple of different stamps. I also used this stamp here so that when you look at the finished one, you can see both of the stamp patterns. The one that I just stamped happens to be right here, and the other stamp that I used is here. And I just wanted it to look kind of like, sort of like a damask pattern, and so those were the two that I chose. When you've created the whole thing, you get that nice heavy damask kind of look. Then the final element was to take some black cardstock, and what I've done is, in order to make it into pattern paper, I'm going to just use a white pen. This is so handy to do anytime you have any of the dark shades. A white pen is just your best friend. It will make pattern paper very quickly and easily. And in this case, I want the stripes not to appear perfect, so you know, you don't have to measure anything. You're just hand drawing them, and I think it looks even better if they don't look perfectly straight, if they have just a little slight wave to them. So I'll just quickly, if you want it darker, you can go back over any of these. You can also get a pen, a white pen that has a little thicker nib, but that works so that you get the idea. Now I'm going to take this, is a die cut, and I've layered a couple of different shades there, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll use my tweezers so that my fingers aren't in the way, and you can see I'm going to layer this on top. And then to give a little added dimension, I think I'm going to put some foam adhesive behind. So I'll take a chunk of the foam adhesive and place it behind. And when I remove the backing, pull it off so that I can expose the adhesive on the other side. it's ready now for me to go ahead and just attach it. And of course, if you wanted to measure, you could. I'm just trying to get it so that it looks like I have a fairly even border on the sides, and that this line is parallel to the edges so that I'll know it'll be fairly straight. Now, if I had the rest of the watermark ink pattern on the bottom, you can see how quickly that cover went together. It's just as finished except for the remainder of this pattern as mine. Once you've got a front cover, and here's a back cover and the inside pages, the assembly is simple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take what would be the first page, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put adhesive on the back side of the paper. And once again, someone asked me in the comments, you know, I always say you want more adhesive in this, and they said how much adhesive. I would put adhesive all along the 4 edges so nothing wants to curl, and then at least an X, sometimes even a little more on the inside. I don't do all that because it's faster. I don't want to waste the valuable time to have you just watch me placing adhesive, but that's what I would do in making my original. I have just a tiny little edge of green showing all the way around, so I can see that it's pretty straight when I have it lined up like so. And I'm going to just turn the whole thing over and press so I get nice adhesion. You can see, always make sure that you do have your cover facing the right side up. And then I'm going to place adhesive on the back side. Remember, you want more than that. And here is the back cover, and I want the ribbon to be facing out here. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lay this down so that there's just that slight green edge showing all the way around. Remember, the front cover and the back cover match. They're the same dimensions, so it will line up nicely. And when you do that, you end up with this really cool accordion folded book. Now, if I leave it in this fashion, it accordions out. If you want to put it on display, like on a tabletop in your house, you may want to leave it like this. You may want it left accordion folded. I decided I wanted mine more like a book, and if I turn this, you'll sort of see what I'm going to do, and I'll only do the first one so that you get the idea, but all of these pages need to be closed up. So what you're going to do is place adhesive on the insides, and I'll close that up. Turn this right side up so that it's facing you. And you can see what I've done now is I've glued together these first 2 pages. I would do the same thing. I would put adhesive in here and glue those pages together, and put adhesive in here and glue those pages together. When you do that, you'll end up with all the pages closed up so that it's what I call book form instead of accordion form. And you know, the beauty of making it yourself is you get to decide whatever works best for you. Now, when it comes to decorating the inside, it is so easy, especially when you start with a pattern paper that you like, because you've already got a lot of pattern going on. You don't have to do a whole lot else. What I've done here is I've simply taken a photo of James, but before I placed it down, I took a strip, and this is blue that's 3/4 of an inch wide, and it's 8.5 inches long, and I placed it on the paper first. And what I did is I just wrapped it around. So I folded it and wrapped it around so that it wraps over and onto the next page. But before sticking it all the way down, I took the next photo and placed it underneath, like you'll see here. And then if you look at the page here, I've done the same thing. Here's another, this time a 1/2 inch strip of that same blue cardstock, and when I flip it over, you can see I've continued it onto the next page. So just using the blue paper as accents that flip over the pages, both the top sides and the sides, that begins to give you a place where you can put journaling and information. And then if you look up here, in order to create a sun, if you have a die cut or a sticker that you like, that's great. But it's easy enough to make one. Here's one that I created just to match. And all this is 4 circle punches just in graduated sizes. So I use all the warm colors, and the hottest color, red, is the biggest. And then I go to orange and then gold and then yellow. And then just raising it with a little foam adhesive is enough to give you the feeling of a sun simply with just circle punches. And then the final element of what I've done so far is I've just taken these flip-flop stickers, and I've used those because they are wearing flip-flops, and this is a beach community, and that's especially, almost all year round, but especially in the summer, that's what you're going to see. So it's just a question now of going back and adding the photos and a few slight embellishments, and you have just the coolest album. Now, whether you choose to leave the accordion pages loose or you want to glue them into book form, you'll find that this scrapbook can be adapted to virtually any theme.